Tortoise Enclosure. Stick around to see how it all came together. Unbelievably excited because our brand new Toad Ranch enclosure just got here. Who's Toad Ranch? They are, in our opinion, the company that makes the absolute best reptile and amphibian enclosures on the market. If you've been paying attention to our videos over the last year, then you might recall that this is now going to be number 4 of the builds that we've been doing with Jared, Denny, Lynn, and everybody over there at Toad Ranch, and this one is a beast. It weighed so much, nearly 800 pounds, that they needed a tractor trailer to come deliver it here. So, after taking a couple days to bring the pieces one by one into our nature center, we're ready to assemble this thing, and my excitement is through the roof. Here we go. Okay, so I've got the directions here, but I'm pretty familiar with how to put one of these together because we've been working with Toad Ranch for a while. But what's important is to just go over a couple of the specifics about this particular unit, which is going to essentially match the last one we did, which is the enclosure for our Ackie or spiny tail monitors. This was designed by Jared with some specs from myself to make sure that it kind of looks like a continuous wall of Toad Ranch enclosures on this back wall of our nature room. So this one is just 1 foot longer than that one, so it continues to the very end of the deck that it's going to sit on. So it's going to be 7 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot, and it's on a pedestal so that it brings it up to the perfect height to butt up against the monitor enclosure. It is also going to have a pretty deep base because it's going to be bioactive. We need a lot of substrate in there for a couple of reasons, and also it has a very unique backdrop that completely wraps around, so it's panoramic. So you're going to feel like you're actually in, hint, Africa when you look inside this enclosure. Okay, so we've got our full backdrop here. This is the back piece, the right and left panels that we have to screw into each other, and you're going to start getting an idea of how panoramic the view of this enclosure is. Okay, back and sides are all together. Now we got to install the bottom as well as the front frame. Here we go. The first time for us from Toad Ranch with this item right here. This is one of AC Infinity's cooling fans, which we're going to install along the back panel of this enclosure. And this is going to be really beneficial because it helps cool the enclosure, because with the heating elements that are going to be inside it on top of this room already being warm, the animals can overheat easily. The animals do need it warm, but this is going to really be beneficial. This is one of the vents right here that Toad Ranch installs in their enclosure, which is obviously needed for air exchange inside these enclosures. And Jared also pre-drilled some holes for this fan to go right over this vent. So I'm going to go ahead and install it right here. Okay. Like all enclosures, we have to install the proper lighting because these animals require UVA and UVB as well as heat to stay healthy and not run into any major issues down the line that would be irreversible. So we're going to be using Arcadia full spectrum lighting for the UVB, and then we're going to be using 2 different spotlights to really create a nice hot basking area for these animals. If you guys are interested in purchasing Arcadia products because they really make quality lighting to keep your animals healthy, use our affiliate link with Toad Ranch in the description of this video to go shop on their website to get all your Arcadia products. So I'm going to install the two basking lights on the opposite side of the full spectrum bulb because we don't want the entire enclosure to be the intensity of the heat that's going to be in the basking area. Reptiles need a thermal gradient, so they need to be able to escape the heat whenever they want to. The lights are installed to the top of this enclosure, so now we got to put the top on. But what I want you guys to notice, which is really cool, Toad Ranch includes these little divots here at the back of the top of the enclosure so that the wiring from your lighting can fit right through. And it's all about things looking streamlined and professional. Skeleton of this enclosure is together, the lighting is hooked up, we just got to add the bulbs, and now we get to have fun by actually decorating this specific to the species that's going in it. So we won't keep you guys waiting any longer, and I'm about to show you who is going to live in this brand new Toad Ranch enclosure. Would you stop licking me? These are just a short stack of what's going in this new enclosure. Folks, these are African pancake tortoises, and they are two representatives from the group that are gonna get to live in this amazing new unit. Pancake tortoises come from Africa. They're found in areas such as Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. They are one of the planet's most interesting and unique tortoises or turtles by far. And there's really no second guessing why when you take a look at their morphology. Unlike most turtles and tortoises that have a high arc or dome to the carapace, pancake tortoises are flat. Literally, these animals can stack on top of each other because their bodies are flat. They have an intricate display of colors and patterns on the carapace. Basically on each scoot, it's kind of like a starburst pattern or a sunrise. This is what they use to effortlessly blend in with their surroundings in Africa. What seems like conspicuous and bright to us is actually a way for them to camouflage, but they also have another amazing way of staying hidden to avoid being eaten by predators. These critically endangered tortoises evade predation by inflating their lungs, which then expands their pliable bodies. Because these tortoises don't have as hardened of a shell as other turtle and tortoise species, they are able to actually expand. So, being communal, dozens of pancake tortoises will go live together in rocky outcrops in Africa, which are called either copies or copies. I'm not sure the exact way to pronounce that, but they are big rocky outcrops, the exact things you see lions basking on with their prides. So, the tortoises go inside the rock crevices of these outcrops, and then when something comes in and tries to get them, they are alerted by that, and that's when they inflate their lungs, expand their body, and they are nearly impossible to pull out of the crevices. Unbelievable. So there's your basic recap of the African pancake tortoise. If you want to learn more about the species as well as the specifics behind our group and how we came to have them, click the link above me and watch the video we did a few months back about them. But let's get back to this enclosure so we can get into the fun part of decorating it. Okay, we're all lit up. Now, pancake tortoises inflate their bodies by jamming themselves into rock crevices. So guess what? They need rocks. Well, Toad Ranch was gracious enough to send us a ton of universal rocks to play around with so we could really create something awesome for the pancake tortoises. So these rocks look incredibly real, but they are not. They are lightweight, and we're basically going to glue or screw them into the background to try to make something really neat looking. Look at all this. Look at the size of this one. But you see how lightweight it is? If this was a real rock, there's no way I'd be able to do that. Now, if you want to use universal rocks or get your hands on some of these amazing pieces, use that affiliate link that I mentioned earlier, again, that's in the description of this video, and go shop at Toad Ranch to pick up any kind of universal rock that you want. All right, the first rock is in. It's a nice big piece here. I'm using these exterior gray decking screws so that they really blend in with the sandstone color here. And the reason I'm doing screws this time instead of really any glue is because if I ever want to move these around, it would be much easier to just back out the screws and redo it again. And everything is catching nicely. Jared sent some extra strips to go along the back so that the screws can really dig in. And now it's time to get creative. Let's play around. So the first piece in, this behemoth of a piece that Universal Rocks has made. I'm using these gray exterior deck screws to screw them in instead of gluing them so that I can move them if I want later on. And they match the sandstone pretty well, so we're not going to notice them as much. Plus these rocks are going to start getting stacked. So we got Pride Rock in, and now we're going to start building off this. So I'm not done with the rocks yet, but I have to start thinking about plant life, or in this case, fake plant life. I've used fake plants from Michael's and Hobby Lobby for well over 15 years now, and they work great with the tortoises. I've never had an issue with them trying to eat them or choking on them. They're pretty sturdy, and the tortoises are a little bit smarter than people give them credit for. They might bite it and be like, okay, that doesn't taste like anything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating depth by making it look like all this background in this African savanna is actually in the foreground as well. And some of these plants that I got actually naturally occur in the south of Africa. So this is actually a live alligator aloe, which is found in South Africa. And then these fake ones, I forget what they're called at the moment, but I looked it up and they actually made a replica of this South African plant. So look at how simple this is. So you just jam it back here like that. That's really in there. Nobody's gonna pull that out. And now you're bringing that background into the foreground. It's gonna start tying all this together. Well, we spent most of the night decorating this thing with the Universal Rocks fake plants, and we have one live plant to add. Got a good night's rest, and now it's time to put the substrate in. All right, so for the substrate in this Pancake Tortoise enclosure, we're going to use one of my favorite mixes, and that's just a simple mix of regular play sand and raised bed soil. It's got things like peat in it, which is really good for any kind of bioactive environment. And just to reiterate, sand is not only one of the most natural components in just about any tortoise's wild environment, but it is also safe to use. Outdated information really stresses the point that it can cause impaction. Anything can cause impaction. It's how you feed the tortoises. Now, if you're just gonna throw food on the ground and rush out because you got work or other things going on, perfectly understandable, but then maybe don't use a heavy portion of sand. But if you're gonna make the tortoises work for their food, feed them on food dishes, and keep a little bit more of an eye on them, well then you really, the world is your oyster as far as substrates go, because there's a lot of safe ones out there, and we always like to go the more naturalistic route, and it's been 30 years of using sand in almost all of our tortoise habitats, indoors and out. And guess what? Never have we had a problem with it. So here we go. So, as I'm adding in the substrate, I'm finding new areas to add some of these Universal Rocks, which are going to help create more crevices for the Pancake Tortoises. So what I just did right here was, I added one down here underneath Pride Rock. And this is going to make a nice little nook right here for some of the tortoises to hang out on. Discovery! Okay, so the base of our substrate is in, that play sand and raised bed soil, but I'm gonna add one last aesthetic to it that is gonna get mixed up over time, especially when the female tortoises nest in here and they dig things up. But this is succulent blend. This is basically a mix that's made to grow succulents, and we are going to have some live ones in here. And it's also, it just really adds to that African savanna deserty type feel. I don't even know the best way to put it, but it really kind of draws things in, and it's all natural stuff, and it's suitable to be part of a tortoise's bedding. So we're pretty much ready to go here. One little final touch, which is just giving the pancake tortoises some water, because all tortoises require it. We give pancakes a very small, shallow water dish so that they do have daily access to it, but what they really appreciate is when you create artificial rains for them and they'll drink from the little puddles that form on the rocks, which we've seen them do in their outdoor enclosure. The best part, putting the inhabitants in their new habitat. This little group of pancake tortoises I think is going to do really, really well in here. The females can nest almost anywhere in here because it's a nice deep bioactive substrate. We're going to have isopods and springtails added to this. So now it's just about letting them get settled in and figure out their little nooks and crannies in here and using all of these crevices. And I just love the way this came out. Now, our pancake tortoises do get to spend the summer outdoors. If you guys want to check out that old video again that I mentioned earlier, you can get a nice close look at how we designed their outdoor enclosure. Well, I think after all this time, they deserve a nice indoor enclosure as well, because they can't be out there in the winter since this is New Jersey. So here they go. So this thing is done, finito, and it looks epic. It took us just under 2 days to fully assemble it, decorate it, and get the tortoises in. And these pancake tortoises have everything they need in here to get them through the cool season until they can go back outside next summer. They've got the right substrate. The females can nest in here because they are winter layers. These females will start laying their eggs within the next month or two. Let's see, what else? We've got fake plants. We've got live plants that if they wanted to eat, they can, but I'm hoping that they do leave them alone. They've got a little bit of water. We're gonna give them artificial rain so they can drink from the rocks. We've got plenty of universal rocks in here that go up high because remember, pancake tortoises, unlike a lot of tortoise species, are climbers. They go up into rock crevices to evade predation and they never lose that instinct. You give them a crevice to go into, they're going to use it. And they like to go up high. Friends of ours that have actually seen them in the wild in Africa have reported them being vertical. Not just horizontal, but vertical inside these crevices. They will do anything to get to their favorite spots. This enclosure has proper lighting. It's got UVB, it's got UVA, it's got additional lighting to brighten it up, and we've got 2 Arcadia deep dome heat emitters that are really state-of-the-art for reptile heating. They don't just warm one little spot, they enable the animal to fully warm up as they would in the wild under the natural sun. Working with Toad Ranch has been a dream come true. Jared and Denny Lynn and everybody working over there are beyond over the top with their talent and their preciseness and how they execute such over the top enclosures. I cannot stress enough, if you want the best, go to toadranchcages.com. Use our affiliate link, again, in the description to pick up universal rocks, Arcadia lighting, and everything else that Toad Ranch offers to securely, safely, and happily house your reptile of your choice.